Welcome everyone to the Sports Ponder podcast. My name is Ahmed El Houli, and today we have a very special guest. A very big show today. A very special and unusual guest, actually, because he represents more than one sport. Mr. Karson Gordon, welcome to the show, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Carson, before we go into the nitty gritty of your career and what you're currently doing now, take us back. Where did this journey start for you?
It started 5 years old, flag football in Houston, Texas, the Fort Bend Youth Football League. That's where it started, man, where I first started playing organized football, and it all kind of sprouted from there. Me and my parents mainly, they knew I had something special. They had something special from there, so that's where it sprouted from. Yeah.
Take us through that journey coming up through into high school, where you're currently finishing up, and then being recruited by UCLA.
It's been
Um,
a long journey.
yeah,
Long. Through starting tackle football, struggling with that, getting over the fear of getting hit, back in like 7 years old, 8 years old, you know how that is. Then middle school, going up to high school, maturing, seeing all the bigger kids than me when I was a freshman or eighth grader. That was tough getting over that mentally. But then once I realized that I could do everything just as good as these other guys can do, that's kind of when I really tried to set myself apart and really pull away mentally, because that's what matters the most being a quarterback. So it's been a long journey. It's been a hard journey, long 4 years being in this recruiting game. And I'm glad to end up at an amazing spot like UCLA.
not many athletes have the ability to pretty much play or participate in two different sports at a very high level. You do. How do you balance between the two?
It was some growing pains towards the beginning of my high school career, freshman and sophomore years like that. But eventually, over time, I got into the routine of taking care of my body, focusing on my books so that the track work and the football can take care of itself. But it's definitely a lot of time management, like they preach in college. I've definitely gotten used to that in high school, time management, and that's what really gets me able to compete in these two different sports at a high level, because you got to put 10,000 hours to each of them. So time management for sure.
Do you see a crossover between the two sports at all?
Definitely, for sure. They're both such intricate events. Being a quarterback is a very lonely position, and when you win, all the glory is on you, but when you lose, all the blame is on you. So it's very intricate, and it's very, very precise and very technical, just like how triple jump is. So I feel like they relate to each other, and they help me get better in each of their respective events by themselves.
Very interesting. You're moving into a very big school, which is UCLA. UCLA is moving conferences. They've just signed a huge deal to a whole new world. So, are you looking for how are you preparing yourself for this jump in level on both ends for you personally and for the team? I mean, there's going to be a lot more travel, a lot more difficult competition. Um, what's going through your head? Just take us in there in terms of your preparation, your mindset, so on and so on.
Personally, for me, it's all mental. Just getting ready to accept the fact that I'm going to play in those big games, those huge games, those big noon kickoffs against Big Ten teams and things like that. So that's just coming to terms with that first, and then just getting mentally ready. Knowing the playbook like the back of my hand, and knowing my teammates and having real chemistry with my teammates by the time I get up there. So that's what's first and foremost with me personally. But for the team, it's a huge step, man. It's Big Ten. It's a very big conference. It's going to be like 18, 19 teams now. So it's gonna be a lot of good competition and a lot of exposure. So I feel like we'll step up to the plate. I feel like we'll represent LA well and UCLA well, and track and football. We're both ready for the change of scenery and all the traveling and all the miles we're gonna put on this plane. So I feel like we're ready enough to the challenge, and we're gonna embrace it.
So just so we are speaking in code, UCLA is moving from the Big Ten to the SEC, and
From
that's
the
going
from the
from
Pac-12 to the Big Ten.
yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yes,
Sorry,
sir.
yes,
All good.
sorry, yeah. From the Pac-12 to the Big Ten, and actually this year the Pac-12 is going to go through a huge reconfiguration because they're going to lose a few teams. But what that means is it's added travel across the country for UCLA. So let's hope for your sake there's private jets and whatnot because there's going to be a ton of travel. Um,
Right. Ton of
so
miles.
so you're starting in a time where um, it's a historical moment for college football. Do you think the Pac-12 will be around in 5 years?
I don't know, honestly. It's all very uncertain right now with just how fast college football is moving, and I think there's only two teams left in it technically, like Washington State and Oregon State, I believe. So I think they're gonna have some type of merger with the Mountain West or something. They're gonna make it work, but I'm not for sure in about 5 years. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Absolutely. Um, you're moving into the state of California, which was a huge advocate for NIL, moving for when they were passing through the legislation. Have you heard anything about friends of yours going through NIL deals? Have you seen any yourself that have come up now that you're moving in as a big time player?
Definitely, yeah. I've been approached by some firms and things like that, but I'll have to wait till I get out there because Texas doesn't accept them yet. But that's definitely going to be rolling as soon as I get there. But I've definitely had a lot of mentors and a lot of people show me the path in this wild west of NIL. And a big one that I credit to is Chase Griffin. He's a UCLA quarterback right now. He's one of my mentors, and he dominates the NIL landscape. I mean, he was recently about 2 weeks ago. He was up at Congress, like Congress, speaking about NIL and advocating for it. And he's just a really big pioneer of NIL, and I appreciate him for what he does for every athlete in the country, really. And it's California, and not even California, but Los Angeles. So it can be NIL capital, and that's what UCLA is trying to do.
Absolutely. Have brands been hitting you up? Have they been saying, "Come this
Oh
way"?
yeah, but I'm having to tell him I gotta wait till I move in because that's the legal part of it. So there's nothing wrong with that. I'll readdress it once I move into my dorm and things like that and graduate. But yeah, yes sir, they have.
How do you think NIL has impacted the sport? The yeah, the sport and the industry as a whole. Has it been positive or negative in your opinion?
It's you got to take it at face value. Honestly, I think it's definitely a positive thing to finally pay these big time players and all players, honestly, because we all work very hard and we deserve it because we create a lot of revenue for the NCAA, but it's also a double edged sword because essentially the transfer portal and you're essentially bidding for higher players and things like that, and it's turned into the wild west. But I think it's going to cool down soon. We're going to have some regulations and some things like that that's going to make it smoother, a better process, and I think ultimately it'll be a good thing for college football and college sports.
Absolutely. I think athletes deserve to be paid 100%, especially at the college level when you have billions of dollars in TV revenue. It should be shared around, especially when you
Definitely.
guys are the actual product. Okay. The transfer portal is hotter than ever. Um, do you think uh, moving forward, this is sustainable for teams to live with? Because there's so many deals now. In my opinion, it's probably one of the hardest times to be a coach in college sports. So many teams are throwing so many perks at different players, and so many super PACs are doing the same. They're coming up, we're giving you this, we're giving you that, we're giving you this. So it's become very hard to keep athletes for a long time the way they used to be. Now, that was why I asked you, do you believe it's a negative or a positive? So, and you answered very well. You said it's a double-edged sword and it's got its impacts. But will we see moving forward things getting even busier in the transfer portal before they slow down and eventually a plateau? In
I
your
think
opinion?
honestly, I believe we probably hit one of the busiest points. I mean, this past a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 or 4, that was probably one of the busiest we'll ever see because I think they're about to throw some regulations on it to calm it down. But it depends. It depends because like I said, it's the Wild Wild West, and I don't blame any of them because they're just trying to put themselves and their families in the best position. So it's just we'll have to see. Honestly, it's a moving landscape, and it moves very fast, and we'll see. We'll see about it.
Awesome. Is there a coach or a mentor that you can look back and say he's given you words of advice and wisdom that have helped you get through this journey thus far? And what were they?
Definitely, definitely, my coach JP Tillman. I mean, he is my personal quarterback coach out of Tomball, Texas. That's my guy. He's coached a lot of really good guys, and I owe it all to him, honestly. But we've spent countless nights talking over it, talking over recruiting, training, games, Friday Night Lights, things like that. But I definitely owe it all to him, JP Tillman, because he's gave me a lot of guidance in this recruiting world. Because, like I've said, it's just it's wild, and you got to get in where you fit in, and he helped me find the proper spot and the best spot for me to succeed in.
Are there any words of wisdom or advice that he's given you that have stuck that always you always come back to?
Yeah, too. It's keep the main thing, because there's a bunch of things pulling you in several different directions, even in high school. I mean, there's a bunch of things pulling you, and you just got to keep the main thing, and the main goal. And we also always talk about chopping wood and carrying water because it's a biblical verse. We try to incorporate that within our training, but chopping wood and carrying water just essentially means you got to do the work. I mean, nobody else is going to do it for you, so you got to do the work and put in the countless hours, the 10,000 hours on your craft, and it's going to show. It's going to show because oh wow, it's going to show because you're chopping wood, you're carrying water, and you're the one doing it because nobody else is going to do it for you.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Okay, let's keep going. Um, you've got an opportunity now to break through and become the number one starting quarterback for UCLA. It doesn't matter who's there. How are you going to do it?
It's tough. We got a lot of nice guys coming in with us, and like you said, the transfer portal is a beast. But I'm just gonna keep my head down and work and do everything the coaches ask me and be the first guy in, last guy out. You know, that's who I am. I believe I'm a true leader and the hardest worker in the room, and that's what's got me to where I am. So I'm not gonna stop it anytime soon. I'm only gonna up the score and double it and do it twice and three times because that's what I've leaned on this whole time when things got tough. Just my consistent approach to life and my drive, my dedication. That's what I've leaned on whenever things get tough. So I'm gonna keep leaning on it for sure.
Carson, do you have any regrets?
Regrets. I should have. I can't say that. No, none. Honestly, none. Honestly, I'm very thankful for the ups and the downs in this experience because I wouldn't be who I am today without it. I'm very thankful for Episcopal High School for taking me in as a junior because I transferred in as a junior, and this is my second year here, of course. But I'm very thankful for them taking me in, and probably my only regret is not being here all 4 years of my career because this is a great school,
Wow.
and it's made me who I am today, honestly, and I'm so thankful for them, and that's about it. But I'm still thankful for staying where I was. It was a great spot as well, and I'm thankful for the ups and downs because without them, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Wow, there you go. Do you wish you only focused on one sport instead of being involved in two sports?
No, sir. Track has only helped me. I mean, from speed to power to being in shape, staying in shape year round, like it's only helped me and benefited me in football and vice versa. So I'm just appreciative to be talented enough in both aspects to let it take me far to state championship level, national championship level, and eventually the D1 level.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. He's a man of many talents. All right then. Before we let you go, what is your advice for those athletes who are looking to make it in the world of college sport to the highest level and perform at that level?
Definitely, it's stepping stones. I would say it's stepping stones. You first gotta, if you're coming in as a freshman, you first gotta get on varsity. Then you gotta start on varsity. Then you gotta get game film and yada yada. You can't go. Not many kids go from eighth grade to D1 offers. It's a long process. Everybody matures differently. Some peak in eighth grade, some mature in eighth grade, and some mature later into not until senior year. So it's a different process for everybody. Like my main advice would just be to keep your head down, keep working, and keep the main thing. Like my guy JP says, because it's so true. It's so real because nobody else is gonna do the work for you, and you got to be consistent in your own craft and fall in love with your craft because that's what's gonna put money on the table for you and get you that free education. So fall in love with your craft, be enveloped in it, and keep the main thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Karson Gordon, thank you very much for joining me on the Sports Finder podcast. Thank you,
Yes, sir.
buddy.
No
Take
problem.
care.
Yes, sir.